Hey everybody, thanks for joining. We'll give it a few minutes. Have any other people that might be a couple minutes late joining, and then we'll go ahead and get started. All right, everybody, I'm going to just give it 2 more minutes. We'll get started at 11:03 Pacific time here. All right, everybody. Appreciate you joining. It's 11:03, so we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you for joining today's webinar. We're going to be talking today about how to design and implement a Google AdWords strategy. So we've got about an hour booked for the webinar. I don't think we necessarily need to take that long. What I'll plan to do is keep the actual content to about 30 minutes, and then I'll leave plenty of time towards the end for any questions that anybody has. As always, as questions arise through any of the slides that I'm talking about, please feel free to go ahead and raise your hand if you have a question, or just drop it into the Q&A box. I've got that up, so I'll keep an eye on it. If there are any questions that come up throughout the content as we're chatting, please feel free to drop it in there, and I will pause to answer any questions. As a reminder, if you can't stay for the whole thing, not a problem at all. We are recording this session, and so we'll put this into our broker and producer portal in the coming weeks here for you all. So also, if you missed last week's webinar, which was kind of the first kickoff to this 6-part series that we're going to do on digital marketing, not a problem as well. We're going to have the slides and the recording of the actual webinar that we did up on the producer portal, hopefully in the next week or so. So not a problem. You'll always have access to these going forward. As a quick kind of reminder and reset of just what we're looking at here. So last week, what we did is we really covered the background of digital marketing, what it is, why you do it, why it's important in today's kind of day and age as we all think about expanding our businesses. And today we're really going to do a deep dive into Google AdWords, which is our first platform that we're looking at. So I do have some slides, but a lot of what we're going to do today is I'm going to pull up our Google AdWords account here at Liferaft and walk you through a few of the tools that I would suggest you use if you're thinking about using Google AdWords for attracting new clients. And so a lot of what we're going to talk about today is things that we've done ourselves here at Liferaft. They are based on my experience from Blueprint Income, which was my previous business, where we were actually, we were effectively a digital agency selling annuities. And so we were in a similar position to you all in trying to find new clients fully digitally. And so a lot of what we've done and a lot of the strategies that you're going to find here are things that I actually did at Blueprint to find new clients that eventually worked. It does take some time, but we grew a pretty sizable business there. So all of this is really rooted in things that have actually worked in the past. So for today's webinar, just a quick agenda of what we're going to cover. We'll talk a little bit about AdWords and give you an overview of what it actually is, why it makes sense to use AdWords and when it doesn't make sense to use it, how to think about designing a Google AdWords marketing strategy. So before you actually put anything live, what are the steps you need to take to designing what you think is going to be an effective strategy? And then lastly, we're going to talk about how to implement a marketing campaign. So the real nuts and bolts of looking at the platform, how to get your ad copy in there, and how to think about putting an AdWords campaign live. And then, as I mentioned, I'll leave plenty of time for questions towards the end as well. So let's talk a little bit about Google AdWords. What is it? An overview of it. So Google AdWords, just so we're all on kind of the same page, when you go into Google and you type something into the search bar, what you'll find is the first few responses or results that you're getting are typically going to have this little black bold ad next to it. This is exactly what Google AdWords is. So what you're really doing is you're, if you don't have, let's say, competitive SEO, which means you can organically show up in those search rankings, what you can do is pay to move yourself up towards the top of any sort of search ranking. So when people are searching certain terms, whether it's where to find the best burger or transportation company, or in the case of insurance, supplementary health products or best ACA plans, you can pay to have your result show up towards the top of that page. And so the actual way that you do that is you determine which keywords or phrases you would like your ads to be shown on, right? So you have the ability to say, I want to be looking for clients that are searching for X, Y, and Z. And then I'm going to pay to actually have my content delivered at the top or near the top of that Google results page. The real power in this, and we're going to talk a little bit more about it, but the real power in AdWords is that it gives you the ability to target certain words and phrases, right? So there's different types of marketing that's available to you out there. There are some that are going to give you a lot of reach, but they don't really give you the ability to target, i.e. find people based on their intent. Google AdWords, especially in the insurance industry, as we've seen over the last couple of years, has become more competitive and as a result, more expensive for us when we think about putting ads live. But it gives us the ability that no other platform really does, which is to be able to really be specific and targeted in our marketing campaigns when we're thinking about addressing and finding new clients. So again, really the power here is if you have a digital presence, but you haven't created a lot of that SEO or that organic value, which we'll talk about in a few weeks of how to do that and what that really means. But really what it means is you've done enough that Google says, if I search for, let's say, annuity, you have enough annuity content and your site is trusted enough that I'm going to move you up in those search rankings. There's an entire kind of algorithm and a bit of a black box that goes into how you get up in the organic rankings. But in lieu of an organic result, we can go ahead and pay to get us moved up to have people see our actual ads. And this is what the ads look like. As a reminder, what you're going to find when you do a Google search is You're going to have all the organic results, but you're also going to have a number of these at the top that have this kind of bold ad on the left-hand side, but you're still moving to the top of the page there. So we used this in last week's webinar, but I thought it was a really helpful tool to frame when it makes sense to actually think about doing a Google AdWords campaign. So today, I would say there's two really big kind of digital marketing platforms, broadly speaking, that we can think about using. There's Google AdWords, and then there are all of the social platforms and social marketing. When I say social marketing, I mean Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat. Now, social marketing can be really good for reaching a broad audience. But again, the big downside to social marketing is that you don't have the ability to be hyper targeted on intent, right? And the reason is because people aren't actively looking or searching for content. And Google AdWords is the exact opposite. What you can do is you can be incredibly targeted about who you're finding and what exactly it is that they're looking for. There's two benefits to that, right? Number one is when people are giving you any sort of indication of the type of service or information that they are looking for, it gives you a unique insight into how you should actually be targeting and talking to those customers. Everything from what does my ad actually say to what does the experience look like when you visit my website from an ad that you've clicked on, to what is the offer that I'm going to give you, to very lastly, what does my follow-up flow look like for you as a customer? What do my emails actually say to you? What am I going to say in my phone call if I know that you've come to me from Google AdWords and you are searching what is the best hospital supplement policy available in the market today, right? If I had that, my ad campaign would be tailored to, here's why this is the best hospital supplement. You can compare it easily to 10 other options. And then the landing page would be, here's how Liferaft's hospital supplement plan stacks up to the 5 next best options that you have and why it's the best one for you. And then my offer to you would be a PDF printout of all of those quotes that you can review. And my follow-up flow would be catered 100% to why Liferaft is actually the best option out there for you amongst the several different hospital supplement policies that are available. So again, kind of taking a step back, the real key value that we're driving home with Google AdWords is that we are able to gauge intent, which is going to be incredibly powerful for us as we think about how to target and acquire new clients. Great. So again, this was a slide that we used last week, but I wanted to bring it back because it does help frame how you actually go about building out a digital marketing campaign, especially for Google AdWords. Remember that your digital marketing campaign does not end at, what keywords do I want to use and then what ad am I showing them? You have to really think about this all the way through to give your client an experience that, one, is going to make them feel like the content you're delivering is relevant to what they searched in the first place. But number two, for you, it's going to ensure that the conversion, i.e., how many people you're able to convert to a policyholder and actually make a policy sale, is high enough that it's going to justify you spending money to get those new customers on Google AdWords. So our first step is to clearly define which kind of lead we want to target. I'm going to go into this in detail when we actually look at the platform, but remember that there are effectively two kinds of keyword segments out there. There is education and there is purchase intent, very, very broadly, right? We can be more specific, but at a high level, think about it as there are keywords I would look for if I am higher in the funnel, right? Meaning I'm looking for information, I'm trying to educate myself, I'm not anywhere close to making a decision, but I am interested in some content to help me make a decision. There's the intent version, which is people probably have done a good amount of research, but they're now really looking to be able to make a decision, right? And some kind of key proxy words you can think about on the intent front are going to be best pricing, easiest way to purchase, do I want it, or I'm ready to buy, comparing quotes, comparing pricing. And in that first bucket where your education, it's a lot of what is, should I consider, what are the best companies out there? So there's a lot, you have to decide which kind of lead do you want? Do you want the education lead or do you want the purchase intent lead? Now, one question you guys might be asking is, why would I ever want an education lead, right? If there's a lot of leads out there that clearly have purchase intent, why wouldn't I just go spend all of my money on those leads? And it's a fair question, right? There's a question of economics that comes up between the two. What we're going to find, and again, I'll walk you through this on the platform, is keywords have different pricing in the system, right? So everybody else has access to a bucket of information that we do as well, which is what keywords are people searching? How frequently are they searching it? And then we're going to have a sense of how competitive that market is. So as you can imagine, intent words are typically going to be more competitive than education-based words. And all that really means to us is, as we think about testing and building out digital marketing strategies on Google AdWords, what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to really keep an eye on our conversion numbers and how many clients we're getting through to be able to understand which keywords are worth that expenditure and which keywords just don't work for us. There's always going to be some that don't, regardless of how intent focused they may seem. And that's why you may want to think about even some education, right? Where education keywords are typically going to be a little bit cheaper. It may take you longer to actually convert and sell a policy there. But if you're finding customers that value your content, value your approach, what you may find is that it takes longer, but you're actually able to convert more of those leads. And so the economics suggest that you actually look at top of funnel, right? So as you think about, how do I really build out my Google AdWords marketing campaign? The first step is, do I want to be looking at intent? Do I want to be looking at education? Or do I want to do a test and do a little bit of both and see what's working best? Now, once you've defined what kind of lead you're looking for, we have to start thinking about what do we think these leads are actually looking for, right? If I am somebody educating myself on supplemental health, what sorts of questions am I asking myself? And then subsequently, what questions am I putting into Google? Because those are going to be the keywords that you actually want to target. Now, again, I will walk us through an example of this and what tools you actually use to build it, but that's going to be our next step. And once we've decided, okay, these are the keywords we want to target, these are the leads, we're going to say, based on that keyword, what do I think the lead is actually looking for when they search for that, right? So I've now asked myself, what does a lead type into Google if they're interested in learning more about supplemental health? If I was typing in, what is the best supplemental health policy available today? I want to put myself in the shoe of the consumer and say, what do I think they want the response of that answer? Is it, here's the best rate, lowest price? Do they care about, here's actually a guide or some educational material that I can use to review and actually make an informed decision? Once we've decided that, that's going to determine what we actually put into our ad as a message. The next step is going to be, once you've clicked on our ad, what do we actually deliver? So your ad copy should really clearly line up with the page that you're going to send these people to. And then lastly, once we have your information, how are we actually following up with you? All of this should be connected, right? You want it to be as seamless of a consumer experience as possible. because that's really going to increase the probability that you're able to make a sale. Whoops, excuse me, make a sale off of it. So the first step in Google AdWords is actually going to be using something called a keyword builder that I'll walk you through here, right? And we talked about the distinction a little bit, but there's really two kinds of keywords. And you can either think of them as education versus intent, or I think of them as top of funnel versus bottom of funnel. So top of funnel is going to be education, keywords and phrases that indicate somebody's earlier in their process and their research, right? Think keywords or phrases that start with what is, how do I, should I, right? Words and phrases that really give you the sense that somebody is doing research. And then you've got the bottom of funnel, keywords and phrases that indicate somebody's a little bit later in their research and closer to purchase, right? Think about the keywords of buying or comparing or best pricing or best options out there. Once you've, I'm so sorry. Once you have decided, which of these do we want to target, that's going to enable you to start building out your ad campaign and really make sure that your ad copy is speaking to your clients as they search these certain keywords. So let me pause there as I start to flip over our screen, and we'll go ahead and look at the keyword builder and Google AdWords, the platform. But while I do that, are there any kind of questions that I can help answer at this point? No? Great. Okay. So give me one moment. Go ahead and jump over here. All right. So hopefully everybody can see the screen. This is Google AdWords. So if you have not used Google AdWords yet, what you're going to do is simply go to ads.google.com. And if your email and your website are all hosted, or your email specifically is hosted off of Google, you can go in there and actually go in there and set up your Google AdWords account. In order for your Google AdWords account to get set up, you do have to have a website, and you will provide Google with the actual URL of your website to go ahead and get your Google Ad account set up. You will also then add in billing information. You have the ability, as you can see here on our Google AdWords account, it will auto bill you based on certain thresholds that you set on billing. I would recommend setting this low to begin with. And what you can do essentially is keep a very close eye on your ads as they are up and running. Now, we haven't been running any Google ads, which is why you're seeing that there isn't obviously any data here. But I will actually walk you guys through some old campaigns that we ran here at Liferaft, just to show you what sort of data and information you're getting from Google and walk you through what each of these different categories mean. But before we actually look at running an ad campaign, let's go ahead and look at something called keyword. I believe it's now called Keyword Planner. And there's a few different tools for planning that Google actually has built in here, which are quite helpful. There's the Performance Planner, Keyword Planner, and Reach Planner. What I find is when you're getting started, the Keyword Planner is actually going to be the best place for you to start. So let's go ahead and click on that. So the Keyword Planner, as it loads up here, allows you to do one of two things. So if you're starting out and you're still not sure what keywords you want, this functionality right here gives you the ability to actually put in your own website. And let's try it out. You can use a domain, or you can actually type in products and services that are related to your business. So let's use Liferaft as an example. So I'm going to put in hospital insurance, and I'm going to use our domain as a filter. Now, just based on hospital insurance alone, here is what Google has returned, right? Now, we've got a very long list of keywords that are in here, and we've got some basic information about those keywords. So we've got our average monthly searches. Now, these are ranges, but I have found that they're actually quite they're quite helpful in giving you a sense of how frequently something is actually searched online. And so you'll see here, hospital insurance, the actual phrase is searched between 1 to 10,000 times a month. The competition is high, right? Meaning there are a lot of other companies that are out there bidding on it. And you can actually look just very briefly, if you look between hospital insurance and hospital indemnity, you can actually see that the top of page bid, the low range, and I'll talk a little bit about how the pricing works here, is $4.02. That's per click. And the top of page bid for high range is $13.65 per click, right? So that means for every person that clicks on your ad, you could end up paying between $4 and $14. Compare that to hospital indemnity, where it actually has a higher monthly search volume, 10,000 to 100,000, but it's got low competition. And the top of page bid, the low end of your range to get to the top of the page is $3 about per click. And at the high end, it's $6, right? What that tells us is there's a couple of things. Number one, this feels like a better keyword to be looking at. However, you have to keep in mind, and you always have to put yourself in the shoe of the customer, right? It is unlikely that there are a lot of customers out there that know what the word indemnity means or to be looking for hospital indemnity. And so it is likely that competition is low here because people have figured out that a good component of this volume that's actually attributable to hospital indemnity may not be end consumers that are looking to buy policies, right? However, it looks pretty attractive from a price perspective. And so if it was me, I would most likely be targeting hospital indemnity and hospital insurance to some balance to really understand what is the quality of my leads that are coming through hospital indemnity. Now, there's a few, I think, very helpful things you can do here. Number one, you can actually search. You can add everything, and you can create new ad groups, which will carry over into your actual campaigns, and you can build language and campaigns around those keywords. You can also download all of these keyword ideas if you'd like to put them into a spreadsheet and really start to hone in on which of these do I want to spend my time on. I wanted to show you guys, though, a couple of, if I go ahead and search, jump out of here. Actually, sorry, go back here. So I want to get search volume and forecast. So this is another great tool that you'll definitely want to use, where I'm going to include a couple of keywords or phrases that we may want to be marketing to. So what is hospital indemnity insurance? Best hospital indemnity plan. Hospital. What is hospital stay? So we'll see what comes out of these. These are quite specific, and so there probably won't be a ton of search volume, but this tool, yep, as it's suspected, what is hospital indemnity insurance is really the only one that's large enough to give us some numbers here. But as you can see here, it gives us an average monthly search volume again, the competition, and then our rough kind of cost here. What I would recommend is, as you're getting started, spend a lot of time here in the keyword tool and really start to play around with different keywords. Include a mix of phrases and just kind of keywords, which I can actually show you. Let me go back. Oops. Whoops. Great. So this gave us a lot more data here. Play with as many keywords in this area as you can, and include a mix of top of funnel, so education focused, and include a mix of more bottom of funnel, purchase intent type of keywords. And you'll really get a good sense of how many monthly searches can you expect from a word like that, and then really how competitive and expensive are they going to be. As you can see with the list that we've created just here, supplemental health, to me, surprisingly, has a good amount of monthly search volume. It does have high competition, but regardless of that high competition, it's actually not as expensive to get to the top of the first page compared to something like hospital insurance, which has similar volume, higher competition, and it's actually far more expensive to get to the top of the page. I think in terms of where you want to start, you want a mix of, I wouldn't be afraid of high competition keywords. You want a mix of some high and some low, because really over time, what you want to be able to do is to look week over week and say, with this keyword, I know that I got 10 leads, and based on the data that I have, I think 5 of them are going to convert, or 5 of them have already converted. And it really allows you to calculate a cost of running each of these ads, right? Just because something is high competition and high cost doesn't necessarily mean that you shouldn't be running it if you're actually getting customers to sign up as a result of it. So this is a look at keyword planner. This is really where to start your Google AdWords journey. And there is a lot of value that you can derive out of here in terms of starting the process of saying, which ads do I think I want to be running on Google Ads? This is going to be your best source of data and information. And again, as I mentioned, my recommendation is use the keyword planning tool. Start with a very broad list of keywords, and then start to whittle it down to maybe 10 to 20 that you want to target, with a mix of competition levels and costs. But one that gives you a good number of average monthly searches across your bucket of keywords. And then as you put these ads live, keep a very close eye on which of these keywords and the ads are actually getting you volume and which of them are actually not getting you any volume. The thing with any digital marketing, especially AdWords, that you want to be cognizant of and think about this as is this is really an iterative test kind of functionality that you are building. And what I mean by that is digital marketing is not something that you put an ad live once and then it remains static. You want to be vigilant in watching what is happening with your ads every single week, because as performance changes, you probably are going to want to get rid of certain keywords. You're going to want to double down on keywords that are doing well. You're going to want to add new keywords. So really think of this as building out the ability to test digitally and get really quick feedback from Google and the leads that you're building, to be able to understand where you should and shouldn't be focusing and spending your marketing dollars. I'll pause there. I know that's a lot. Any questions on the keyword planning tool? And I know we said we would keep this to 45 minutes, but I could speak for hours here. And so I'm going to switch over very quickly into Google Ads, back over to the ads, and walk you through what it looks like to actually set a campaign up. And then and we'll look at some of the performance on our ads that we actually ran. So let's go ahead and look at this cash benefit for hospital care. Nope, sorry about that. Give me one moment. I want to start a new campaign. Where's my new campaign? Where's my, sorry, everybody. Here we go, new campaign. So we're gonna go ahead and just in his example, start a new campaign. So you're gonna click new campaign at the top, and you're gonna get the option from Google to have a number of different goals for your campaign to be successful. Whoops, apologies about that. Sales, before I jump into each of these, what Google is doing is Google is going to give you the ability to optimize and really track the success of your campaign based on certain events occurring, right? So depending on what you're actually trying to drive, you could be looking at sales, you could be looking at leads. One thing I'll mention on sales is you are going to have to know and connect up a sale platform. So I would say for folks like ourselves that are in the insurance business, sales actually usually isn't where I would focus Google to have it optimized for. It would be leads. And really what that means is somebody gives you their email address where you then have the ability to follow up with them. And then you can actually determine how well you're able to convert those leads. But spend some time when you set up your Google Ad account, just really starting to understand what each of these are. Again, from my end, if the goal is to build your insurance business, it's really leads that we're focused on. So that's what we're going to go ahead and click. Now, there's a lot of different things that you can do here. In addition to just search, Google does allow you to have video ads and display ads. We'll run I will do a deeper dive on display because that is actually its own type of beast. Today we'll focus on search. So again, this as a reminder is when I go into Google as a consumer and I search something, I get that long list of results. At the top, there are always those 3 to 4 ads at the very top of that page. So I'm going to go ahead and click search. Whoops. And what I'm going to tell Google is that a lead to me is not a website visit. It could be a phone call. For those of you that do a lot of business over the phone, you can actually let Google know what your phone number is. There's a functionality to build a call from the ad functionality, where if you have people looking at your ad on a digital on a phone, on a digital device, they can actually just hit your phone number, and if they call you off of your ad, Google will credit it as a lead that was generated. There's lead form submissions. Again, I have found where oftentimes I think the best way to target a customer is to actually give them an offer at the end of a Google AdWord. And that offer could be a phone call with you or a consultation. It could be a piece of collateral that you've designed. We're going to make that a lead form submission. Now, you are going to need to have a lead form that's set up on your set up on your website, but we can certainly help with that. Great. So we're going to name our campaign. We have the ability to geo target. So I'm going to go ahead and say just United States. You do have the option, I believe, to get even more targeted. So if I wanted to do Texas, because I was based in Texas, I can do Texas. So let's say I'm going to go ahead and do Texas. We're going to do English. But again, if you have a client base that is heavily Spanish speaking, you can actually put Spanish into here. Now, this is where you're going to set your daily budget for your campaign. Again, I would recommend starting out small. You're not going to see a ton of volume, but you're going to get data and really start to understand what you're seeing here. There's a few different things that you can optimize for here. What I would recommend is when you're first starting out, you're going to want to bid based on your conversions. What that means is you're actually setting a target cost for every single lead that's generated. Now, over time, you may want to move to a place where you're actually paying for a click. But until you really understand what behavior happens after a click on your site and how many people are actually giving you their email address, I recommend you start with conversions. You really start to see, hey, when someone clicks on my ad, how frequently are they actually giving me their email address before you start to move that goalpost on yourself to move further up. Now, the thing further up the funnel is going to be click, right? I want to pay per click on my ad, regardless of what happens after. Even above that is I want to pay for every time my ad is shown, regardless of whether somebody clicks on it or not. There's some advantages to optimizing your bidding for these, but again, you're really going to want to make sure you really hone in and understand on the behavior of consumers that are seeing and clicking on these ads before you start bidding here. Now, there are a couple of other, you're going to want to, add some of these extensions, and I'll walk you through very quickly, again, because I know we're running out of time here, what each of these means. Site link extensions. So if I jump back to here and show you guys this ad, these three little blue things down here, these are certain other links to the Blueprint Income website that you could click on if you saw this ad. This would be the main thing I wanted you to click on, but you had the ability to click on these. What Google has effectively told us is the more that you're able to include of links to your site that show Google that it is a reputable and the site has some depth to it, the better your ads are going to be. And so what you might want to do is actually include at least 2 site link extensions here, because you're going to also see better conversion. And all you really do here is, let me see if I can do this. Oops. Okay, that unfortunately is not working right now, but what you're going to put in here, actually, I'm sorry, you have to click new site link extension. You're going to put in the text that you actually want, the description line, and then the URL. So what that means is Liferaft agent page, learn more about appointment is what would be shown in my ad. And then this is going to go to liferaft.co/agents. Now, that's not a real URL, so don't worry about that. And then we can add up to 4 of those. I'm going to hit cancel for now. Call out extensions, I would say for now, leave those. You don't really need those to start with. And then call extensions, I would recommend this. Again, this is going to put your phone number into the actual ad. And if somebody is on a mobile device like a phone, they can actually just click on it and give you a call directly. I know a lot of us do our business over the phone, and so this can be something that's incredibly valuable. Now, hopefully this will let me go through, but I haven't really added anything, so we'll see if it does. Great. So within your campaign, that is kind of the highest hierarchy. After you set up your campaign, you have in there the ability to set up ad groups. What I would say is set up 2 ad groups in every campaign that you have if you're looking at educational and you're looking at transactional type of keywords and doing them at the same time. So we'll do agent campaign, education. Now, with all that work you did in the keyword planner, what you're going to want to do is you can either, you can do some of the work. You can take the keywords that you had kind of worked up and actually just drop them into here. And that's going to be the keywords that you actually are targeting with your ad group. You can also actually do some of that discovery work here as well. But let's go ahead and just do hospital indemnity. We'll set up 1 ad group for now. Now, as you add in more keywords here, Google will actually give you a sense of what they think the performance of your ad campaign will be in terms of the volume that they'll be able to drive given the daily budget that you've set. So let's go ahead and just do hospital indemnity for now. Whoops. Oh, just went back. Sorry about that. Great. So this is where you actually go ahead and create your Google AdWords campaign, or your ad, excuse me. As you can see here, what you're going to do is you're going to put in, this will actually walk you through. This will walk you through exactly what you need to put in here, but you're going to start out with your display path. And as you see here, it'll actually show you down here what's actually shown. You're going to put in a headline. So if we did hospital indemnity, let's do cheapest hospital indemnity plan. We'll do cheap because that's too long. That's going to be our first line. So you have the ability to add a number of different headlines here. I would say keep it to 2 to 3 at the most. And then underneath, you can actually get the cheapest hospital indemnity coverage for as little as $5 per month. And it's actually going to give you, oh, I'm sorry. You want to add more headlines because what Google is actually going to do is cycle them in and out to see what works the best. It's showing up a little weird here right now in their preview. But as you can see here, the description is going to be down here. The headlines would be up here. $5 per month. Quick. There we go. Great. Now, wouldn't worry about those just yet. And that really is, there's a little bit more work in adding more headlines and descriptions, but that is how you actually get ads set up in Google AdWords. Once you hit save and continue, Google is going to go through about a 24-hour review period to ensure that none of your text is offensive and it meets all of their standards. But that is how you put a Google AdWords campaign live. Again, I know we're running out of time here, but very quickly, before I end for any last questions, what I want to do is show you what some of the actual numbers are that you get back. So let's look at this guy right here. Whoops. Hide. And I'm going to have to find when it is that we actually ran this. I don't know. Okay, great. So as you can see here, this is an example of an ad campaign that we ran for a short period of time. We spent $103 on it. Impressions, as this says, is how often your ads were shown. For $103, our ad was shown 10,000 times. We had 105 clicks on our ads. Now, we did not set up this conversion tracking. So really what we were looking at was how many clicks can we get? As you can see here, one quick metric that you'll hear thrown around is cost per click. Here, we were paying about $1 a click. It's simply the number of clicks that you've gotten divided by the number of, or the amount of money that you spent. Here was a view of the actual ad that we ran. Insurance for hospital care, benefit paid directly to you, visit website. And this is where it was shown in the budget. Now, this is a very, very, very quick overview. I'm going to click in here a little further, and you actually can get very good data in here on how your ads have performed. Now, we can get even more granular, actually. If you go into campaigns, as you can see here, we'll look at plan pricing test here. We spent $125 a day. The total that we spent was $1,200 here. We got 84,000 impressions. A CTR is click-through rate. So it's the number of clicks divided by your impressions. So about 1% of every person that saw our ad clicked on it. Now, our average cost per click was $1.32. So we were paying $1.32 for every person to click on our ad. Now, with our ad campaigns that we had run, we did not set up our conversions correctly, which does happen from time to time. So as you can see here, we had 0. That being said, we were able to tie back email addresses for policyholders. Again, we're not running any of these anymore, but I think they give you a good insight into what the system looks like. And with that, that is all I've got. I will share this slide with you as well, because we did skip it. But these are some of the keywords you're going to, or excuse me, some of the key questions you're going to want to consider as you actually put your campaign up and live. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and pause there. I know we ran a little bit over. We've got about 5 minutes. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to drop them into the chat or the Q&A, and happy to answer any questions that you all have. Hey, Mary, thanks for your question. Yes, we did record this session. We will post it into the producer portal. So not a problem. Thanks for joining when you could. We'll go ahead and get that up there, and you'll be able to see it up there. That sounds great. Any other questions? What would you be the optimal budget to get started? Great question, David. So David's question was, what would be the optimal budget to get started? In my opinion, a daily budget of $100 to $200 a day is sufficient to get started. Anything more than that, I think you run the risk of spending quite a bit. You could even start lower than that, frankly, like $20 to $50 a day. We did that as well. In the first couple of weeks, I would say set your budget and target of like $20 to $50 a day. It's not an overwhelming amount of expense. It will, it should give you enough data to really start to understand how the system works, what's working, what isn't working. The one thing you want to be careful of is if you're selecting keywords that have very high cost per clicks to get you to the top of the page, that's really where you run the risk of your budget not being adequate. And so if you set a $50 a day budget and you had a word that you were bidding $15 on, if you get 3 clicks, you spent your entire budget for the day. So that's a one thing to be mindful of. But if I were you, I would start in the 20 to 50, really start to understand how the platform works, see what's working, what isn't, and then you can always increase and reallocate over time. Again, all of these, really think of digital marketing as starting to build out your testing and your iterating tool set. That's really going to be able to give you the ability to start to hone in and start to up your budget where it makes most sense for you to do so. Mary, is there an amount that is too low to spend per week, or is it again going to depend on the keywords chosen? Great question, Mary. So Mary's question is there an amount that's too low to spend per week? Or is it dependent on the keywords? It is to some extent dependent on the keywords that you're going to choose. So again, I would say here's what I'll tell you. Our most successful kind of strategy was at Blueprint Income. What we did is we targeted what are called long tail keywords. So there's 2 types of keywords that are out there. There are long tail and short tail. Short tail keywords are keywords that are typically going to be trafficked. They're short, so a phrase or actual words that are going to be more competitive and they're going to be heavily trafficked. The downside to that is that they're going to be really expensive. There are long tail keywords which are going to have lower volume, but what you're going to find is that not as many people target them. So what I mean by long tail is in the annuity context, like what is a deferred income annuity, right? There's not a ton of volume on that, but what we found was it wasn't very expensive, and there's a lot of keywords in that sort of realm, right? So we would take 300 phrases like that at a time. Individually, there's not a ton of volume there, but if I take 300 keywords at a time, I can generate sufficient volume, and I can do it at a budget that's actually a lot lower than if I just targeted, best dia quote. And so it does depend a little bit on your keywords, but I would think really strategically about how can I find a lot of keywords that I can focus on that are going to be cheap, and I can set a low budget, get a good amount of volume, and start to learn. Great. Thank you guys for the the great questions. Any last questions I can help answer? I know we're up on time here. All right, seeing none. Thank you everybody so much for joining. And David, did you have another question? I think I saw your hand go up. Great. All right. Well, thanks everybody. I know there was a lot in there. As always, please feel free to drop me an email. It's simply my first name at liferaft.co. I'm happy to answer any other questions that may come up as you start to test, and very, very excited to see what you guys do. And yes, we will post the session on our producer portal here, hopefully in the next week or so, and look forward to hearing about everybody's success on Google AdWords and digital marketing. Thanks again for joining. Have a wonderful day.